When most people think of Hungary, they picture Budapest, the Parliament building, thermal baths, and maybe a bowl of rich, smoky goulash. But beneath this peaceful country lies a story that stretches back hundreds of millions of years. A land where an ancient sea once covered the landscape, where volcanic mountains produce world-famous wine, where hundreds of underground caves hide beneath rolling hills, and where the hottest crust in Central Europe feeds thousands of thermal springs. Hungary may sit quietly in the heart of Europe, but its landscapes tell one of the continent's most fascinating geological stories. Today, we're exploring 15 incredible facts that reveal the hidden side of Hungary. Welcome to Planet Earth Explorer. Let's begin. Few capitals on Earth are built above such an extraordinary natural resource. Budapest sits on top of more than 100 thermal springs every single day. Around 70 million liters of naturally heated water rise from deep beneath the city. Some springs emerge at temperatures approaching 80 degrees Celsius. The Romans recognized their value nearly 2,000 years ago. They built bathhouses that transformed the area into one of the great spa centers of the ancient world. Centuries later, the Ottoman Empire expanded this tradition by constructing magnificent Turkish baths that still operate today. Today, Budapest is often called the city of spas, not because of luxury hotels, but because the earth itself constantly heats the water below. Few places on the planet offer such a remarkable connection between geology and everyday life. The reason Budapest has so many hot springs begins far below the surface. Beneath Hungary, the Earth's crust is unusually thin. In most parts of Europe, the crust is around 35 kilometers thick. Here, it is nearly 1/3 thinner. That allows heat from the Earth's interior to rise much closer to the surface. As groundwater seeps downward, it is naturally heated before returning through cracks in the rock. This remarkable geological setting has created more than 1,000 thermal springs across the country. Today, geothermal energy heats homes, greenhouses, and entire communities. Hungary's greatest natural resource isn't hidden in mines or forests. It's the heat slowly rising from deep inside the planet. At first glance, Lake Balaton looks like an ordinary lake, but appearances can be deceiving. Covering nearly 600 square kilometers, it is the largest lake in Central Europe. Locals often call it the Hungarian Sea. Despite its enormous size, it is surprisingly shallow. On average, the lake is only about 3 meters deep. That means sunlight warms almost the entire body of water every summer. Swimming temperatures regularly exceed 25 degrees Celsius. Families, sailors, and cyclists arrive from across Europe to enjoy its warm waters and scenic shoreline. It's a reminder that sometimes the world's greatest lakes aren't the deepest. They're simply the most welcoming. Long before farms, villages, or castles covered Hungary, an enormous inland sea filled the entire basin. Known as the Pannonian Sea, it existed millions of years ago. For countless generations, rivers carried sediment into this giant body of water. Eventually, the sea disappeared, but it left behind something incredibly valuable: layer upon layer of fertile soil. Today, much of Hungary's farmland grows directly on ancient seabed sediments. Every field, every vineyard, and every wheat harvest owes its existence to an ocean that vanished long before humans appeared. The country's remarkable agricultural wealth began beneath the waves. Most people imagine Europe as a continent of forests and mountains, but eastern Hungary tells a very different story. Here lies Hortobágy National Park, an immense open grassland stretching toward the horizon. This landscape is one of the last surviving sections of the Great Eurasian Steppe, a vast ecosystem that once extended thousands of kilometers from Hungary all the way to Mongolia. Wild horses, traditional Hungarian gray cattle, and enormous flocks of migrating birds still thrive here. For centuries, herdsmen have lived alongside these plains, preserving traditions that have almost disappeared elsewhere in Europe. Standing here, you don't feel like you're in Central Europe. You feel like you've stepped into another continent entirely. Most great rivers follow long, predictable paths. The Danube doesn't. Just north of Budapest, one of Europe's greatest rivers suddenly makes an almost perfect 90-degree turn. This remarkable place is known as the Danube Bend. For millions of years, the river carved its way through volcanic mountains, creating one of Hungary's most spectacular landscapes. Towering cliffs rise above the water, ancient forests blanket the surrounding hills, and high above it all sits the medieval citadel of Visegrad. The location wasn't chosen by accident. Whoever controlled this narrow bend controlled one of Europe's most important trade routes. Romans built fortresses here. Medieval kings constructed castles overlooking the valley. Even today, standing above the Danube Bend, it's easy to understand why this natural gateway has shaped Hungarian history for nearly 2,000 years. Hungary's landscapes don't end at the surface. Beneath the northern hills lies one of Europe's greatest underground worlds, the Ugtelic Karst. Over millions of years, rainwater slowly dissolved thick layers of limestone, drop by drop. Tiny cracks became tunnels. Tunnels became enormous caverns. Today, more than 700 caves form a vast underground labyrinth stretching beneath the countryside. The largest of them all, Baradla Cave. It extends for more than 25 kilometers through towering chambers filled with spectacular stalactites and stalagmites. Some chambers are so enormous that orchestras have performed concerts inside them. Others preserve traces of people who explored these caves over 7,000 years ago. It's a hidden landscape almost as large and fascinating as the one above ground. Most caves are cold, dark, and impossible to swim through. Not this one. Near the city of Miskolc lies one of the rarest natural wonders in Europe, a thermal cave where warm mineral water flows through underground chambers instead of walking. Visitors float quietly through crystal-clear pools surrounded by limestone walls sculpted over hundreds of thousands of years. The water remains comfortably warm throughout the year. Steam rises gently from the surface. Echoes bounce softly through the caverns. It feels less like entering a cave and more like discovering an underground spa built entirely by nature. Very few places on Earth combine geothermal activity and cave systems in such a remarkable way. Some of the world's greatest wines begin with fertile soil. Hungary's most famous wine begins with volcanoes. The Tokaj wine region was shaped by eruptions that occurred around 15 million years ago. Those ancient volcanoes left behind mineral-rich soils unlike anywhere else in Europe. Centuries later, another remarkable ingredient completed the recipe. Autumn mists drifting from nearby rivers encourage the growth of a rare fungus known as noble rot. Instead of ruining the grapes, it concentrates their natural sugars. The result is Tokaji Azu, a wine so highly prized that kings and emperors once competed to serve it at their royal courts. Every bottle begins with fire and ends with one of the world's most celebrated sweet wines. When people think of historic underground railways, London usually comes to mind, but Budapest isn't far behind. In 1896, Hungary opened the second oldest underground metro system in the world. Built to celebrate 1,000 years of Hungarian history, the line ran beneath elegant Andrássy Avenue. Rather than digging deep tunnels, engineers used an innovative shallow construction method that allowed the city above to continue functioning. More than a century later, the original yellow trains still traveled beneath Budapest. Many of the beautifully restored stations look remarkably similar to the day they first opened. It's more than public transportation. It's a moving piece of history that still carries thousands of passengers every day. For centuries, much of Hungary wasn't dry land at all. Every spring, the Tisza River overflowed its banks, flooding enormous areas of the Great Hungarian Plain. Entire regions became vast wetlands. Travel was difficult. Farming was unpredictable. Then, during the 19th century, Hungary launched one of Europe's greatest engineering projects. Engineers straightened the river. They cut through more than 100 winding meanders. Thousands of kilometers of levees were built. More than 400,000 hectares of wetlands were transformed into fertile farmland. The project completely changed the country's geography. Modern Hungary wasn't shaped by nature alone. It was also reshaped by human ambition. Every year, the skies above Hungary come alive. Hundreds of thousands of birds pass through the country during their migrations between Europe and Africa. More than 400 species have been recorded here. Why? Because Hungary sits directly beneath one of Europe's most important migration corridors. Its rivers, wetlands, grasslands, and shallow lakes provide perfect resting places after long journeys. Every autumn, thousands of common cranes gather across the Hortobágy. Their synchronized flights fill the evening sky with one of Europe's greatest wildlife spectacles. For birds, Hungary isn't simply another country. It's one of the continent's most important crossroads. Travel across Europe, and you'll notice something unusual. Most neighboring countries speak languages that share common roots. Hungary is different. Hungarian belongs to the Finno-Ugric language family. Its closest linguistic relatives are spoken thousands of kilometers away in Finland and Estonia. Not Germany, not Austria, not Slovakia. For more than 1,000 years, Hungary has preserved a language unlike any of its neighbors. Despite invasions, empires, and changing borders, its unique identity survived. Even today, many visitors are surprised to discover that familiar European words suddenly disappear. The language itself is one of Hungary's greatest cultural treasures. Most countries use geothermal energy only in a few isolated places. Hungary uses it almost everywhere, across the country. Naturally, heated groundwater warms homes, greenhouses, swimming pools, and entire districts. More than 1,000 communities benefit from geothermal resources. Few European countries rely so heavily on energy rising naturally from beneath their feet. The same geological forces that created Budapest's famous thermal baths now help power everyday life. It's one of the clearest examples of nature quietly supporting modern civilization. For over 1,000 years, Hungary has stood at one of Europe's great crossroads. The broad, open plains of the Carpathian Basin created a natural gateway between East and West. Mongol armies crossed here. Ottoman forces marched through these valleys. Merchants, pilgrims, and travelers all followed the same routes. Unlike mountainous countries protected by natural barriers, Hungary remained open. Its geography invited movement, trade flourished, cultures mixed. But invasions came just as easily. Few places in Europe have seen so many civilizations pass across the same landscape. Hungary's history wasn't only shaped by its people, it was shaped by its geography. From the world's spa capital, to underground thermal caves, from ancient volcanoes, to endless grasslands, from disappearing seas, to rivers that reshaped an entire nation. Hungary is far more than a country in the heart of Europe. It's a place where geology, history, and culture have been intertwined for millions of years. Every landscape tells a story. Every river has changed the course of history, and every journey reveals another hidden wonder. So, which fact surprised you the most? Tell us in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey, don't forget to like, subscribe, and join us for another adventure here on Planet Earth at Planet Earth Explorer. Until next time, keep exploring.